Welcome back to the Coach Momentum Podcast. It's Karen Capello. Over the last several episodes, we've been exploring some of the most common challenges coaches face when building their businesses. You may have recognized yourself in some of them. Perhaps you've been creating content consistently without seeing many conversations come from it. Perhaps prospects seemed interested yet didn't move forward. Perhaps referrals come occasionally, yet revenue still feels unpredictable. Or perhaps you found it difficult to explain what makes you different. At first glance, these all look like separate challenges, and most coaches treat them that way. But what if they're not? What if they're actually symptoms of the same underlying challenge? Today, I'd like to introduce an idea that has become increasingly clear after working with coaches for many years. That's the offer gap, the hidden reason behind inconsistent revenue. Now, most coaching businesses experience one of three gaps: a revenue gap, an offer gap, or a conversation gap. And while all three matter, I believe many coaches may be trying to solve the wrong one. Let's start with the revenue gap. It's the easiest one to identify. You have a financial goal, and your actual revenue falls short of that goal. The gap is visible. You can see it on a spreadsheet and in your bank account. You can feel it when you're making decisions about your business. Most coaches focus here first. They say, I need more clients, more sales, and that's understandable. Yet revenue is usually the result of something deeper. Which brings us to the second gap, the offer gap. The offer gap exists when talented coaches struggle to communicate their value in a way that creates momentum. This is where I see many experienced coaches get stuck. They know they can help people, their clients get results, and their credentials are really impressive. Yet something isn't clicking. Prospective clients are interested, conversations happen, yet revenue remains inconsistent. Why? Because the offer isn't specialized enough. Because the market isn't yet clear on exactly what problem is being solved, who it's for, what outcome it creates, and why it matters now. This is the gap we've been discussing throughout these latest podcast episodes, and it's far more common than most coaches realize. And then there's a third gap, the conversation gap. This happens when the offer is clear, the positioning is strong, people are interested, and conversations still aren't moving into contracts. This is where conversation skills become very important. How do you lead a conversation? How do you create certainty? How do you help someone make a decision confidently? And how do you move forward from interest to commitment? These are important questions, and they do deserve attention. Yet, here's what I see over and over again. Many coaches believe they have a conversation gap when they actually have an offer gap. Let me explain. Imagine you're having a conversation with a prospective client. The conversation feels really good, you connect, you're listening deeply, you're asking questions, you're providing value. Yet at the end, the person says, let me think about it. And the coach maybe immediately assumes, I need better sales skills. Maybe. Yet what if the prospect isn't uncertain about the conversation? What if they're uncertain about the offer or the outcome or why this matters now? Those are different challenges. And no amount of conversation or sales skill can fully compensate for an offer that's not relevant. This is why I will say a great conversation cannot consistently rescue an unclear offer. An exceptional offer, however, makes the conversations dramatically easier. Think about your own experiences as a buyer. When you've made your best purchasing decisions, what was true? You understood the problem, the opportunity, the value, and the path forward felt clear. That's what we're going to create for your clients. One of the reasons I created our mid year revenue reset was to help coaches identify which gap was actually slowing their growth. And what we discovered was fascinating. Many coaches came into the workshop believing they had a revenue gap, and some believed they had a conversation gap. Yet, as we explored their businesses, a different picture emerged. They had too many offers, no clear specialty, positioning that was difficult to explain. They had messaging that generated interest, not action, content that educated but didn't create conversations, referrals that arrived occasionally, yet not predictably. These are classic signs of an offer gap. And once you see it, everything starts making sense. And the good news is an offer gap can be solved. And by the way, you don't need another certification, although you could have one if you want. You don't need to reinvent your business, and you don't need to become someone different. You simply need greater specialization. Clarity around who you help, the challenge you solve, the outcome you create, and why your work matters. When those pieces come together, something remarkable happens. Everything becomes easier. Content, referrals, conversations, client acquisition, because you're communicating more clearly. Now, I want to be very careful here. I'm not suggesting that conversation skills don't matter. They absolutely do. In fact, later this year, we'll spend significant time exploring the conversation gap itself. Yet before we focus on conversations, we need to make sure the offer is doing its job. Otherwise, you're asking every conversation to carry far more weight than it should. The offer should create certainty before the conversation begins. The conversation should deepen that certainty. So, as we begin wrapping up today's episode, I'd like to leave you with a few questions. Do people quickly understand who you help and the result you create? Can referral partners easily explain what you do? Does your content naturally create conversations? And do prospective clients see a compelling reason to move forward? If those questions feel difficult to answer, there may be an offer gap hiding underneath your revenue gap. And if that's true, you're closer than you think, because clarity can be created. A compelling offer can be created. And when that happens, the business begins to change. In our next and final episode, we're going to talk about the real cost of spending another 6 months to a year carrying an offer gap that continues to slow your growth. Thank you for being a coach and supporting others to be the highest versions of themselves. We're here to help you do the same.